you always got that initial conversation, understand what it is. They've got, it's often really helpful to get their own summary. Well, what do you think's in the data? What do you think it should be telling you? What have you got already? So we're always going to have that before we actually go off and jump into it.
We interface almost always primarily via the business users, usually quite senior business users who are quite removed from their own data technology and environment, and for perfectly good reasons. And actually what we'll get is, we really need to answer this question, but the data's all crap and I can never get what I want. And I'm sure we've got all the data. I'm spending enough money on collecting and storing it, but somehow no one can seem to tell me what I want to know. And so, we need to sort of rely on our instincts quite early on there, because it's rarely a situation where the data environment's so completely broken that we can't do anything. And that we'll sort of recognize the type of technical barriers and challenges that might exist. And you can often glean quite a lot of that just from questioning the business users without even going to the technical users. And oftentimes we don't need access to all of that big infrastructure and databases, data lakes, data ponds. Actually, can you just send me your most recent dashboard? If you've got a dashboard you can point me towards, some sort of spreadsheet or whatever, any reports that you've got. And often that's the best place to start anyway, right? Rather than going, where's the keys to your huge database, distributed data lake. And actually just seeing how the business sees itself, the types of metrics, KPIs that they're relying on, how they think about them, how they present them, and what that means to the business user you're talking to is often the most important thing. And that's the window that we need, because we'll zone in onto something there and say, well, this bit I'm interested in. And so can you just point me towards the vague direction where I find the underlying data? Because obviously we always want that, right? We want the underlying data because that's where the flexibility and the power is, right?
Yeah, and I think that's exactly right. When we're doing that, when we're chatting and we start looking at the data, there's an element of auditing which is going on there, because you're asking someone, okay, well, what's the problem, and then how do you see it, and what sort of data do you have for it? And then, okay, well, that's great. I'll go and look at that data. Can I see what you're seeing? I mean, that's often our starting point, right? Is like, okay, well, I've got my own interpretation of that. But before I jump into that, you've said this, you've got this problem here. You think your margins are being eroded. You've seen this data here and it's indicating that, this cost here is going up. Okay, great. Can I see that? And then start to dig in a little bit of that. Okay, well, yeah, it is showing that. Why is it showing that? Maybe we need to go and find other data to back that up. But that's definitely a secondary step. And I think that's one of our key points is, with all the platforms and all the tools that are around encouraging data to be, scrubbed and put into pipelines and then loaded and aggregated, put into dashboards. People get their dashboard, and you've got a lot of business users now via things like Power BI and Tableau who can actually take that data and produce their own dashboards. They maybe got one for their team and it's looking at it like this, and that's spread out to a few other people. So you've got quite a lot of eyes on this sort of stuff. And it just doesn't make any sense to me to go, well, I'm going to ignore all that and let me just go and have a look at your data warehouse, because that's not the problem that's being presented. The problem is we're looking at all of this, and sometimes we've got so much of it now we can't make head nor tail of it, and sometimes that's a horrible unpicking problem, but it's the best place to start.